Quandre Diggs. Nino. He has been one hell of a football player for the Seattle Seahawks since coming over in a midseason trade with the Detroit Lions back in 2019, which saw our Hawks move him and pick him up for a mere 5th-round pick. And boy, was he not the glue to that secondary in that 2019 season, a defense that was kind of scuttling to find its way, and he came in there and really brought it all together. Kind of like the rug from the great Lebowski, you could say. And he's not been anything short of excellent since that time period. In 55 games, he has amassed 17 interceptions with the Seattle Seahawks. He's gone to 3 straight Pro Bowls, and he yet still really can't seem to get the full amount of respect from the Seahawks fan base. I'm not saying that people are hating on him or anything like that, but he just doesn't get really revered as much. And I think some of that is still the shadow of Earl Thomas that lingers, as many Seattle Seahawks fans would tell you that Earl Thomas was the best free safety in Seahawks history. But to put in perspective the type of run that Quandre is on right now, Earl in his time here with Seattle played 125 games. He had 28 interceptions during that time. So Earl Thomas averaged an interception once every 4.4 games. Well, Quandre Diggs on the other side of it is averaging an interception once every 3.2 games. And he's not merely picking up these interceptions by luck or happenstance or overthrows where he's just sitting in center field and the quarterback overthrows a wide open receiver and he gets the pick. He is making these interceptions happen. And the play I'm going to show today on the anatomy of a play is actually going to be a play where he breaks off of his responsibility and coverage to go make the interception. And when you talk about difference makers in the NFL, those guys that separate themselves from others, it's the guys that don't just play to their role and responsibility, but are masters of film study, masters of what they're seeing on the field, and are able to react to that in the moment, break off their given assignment to go make that play because they're so sure as to what they're seeing. What's going to be awesome about this breakdown today is I was able to reach out to Quandre on Twitter and get a detailed response about the coverage the Hawks were in and why he broke off his coverage responsibility to go make the play. Let's set the stage. The Raiders are an 11 personnel, or 3 wide. The Seahawks counter with a nickel defense and have their safeties in a 2-high pre-snap look. The Seahawks are running a quarter-half coverage. Quandre gives us the goods right from the horse's mouth by referencing his responsibility in quarter coverage and then also indicating they were in a half-field coverage on the backside. So this is the way the coverage looks pre-snap. Once the ball is snapped, you see Quandre start to bail into his quarter coverage responsibility, but then suddenly changes direction and screams towards the middle of the field like he's just had an epiphany. Cody Barton gets a hand on the ball, and Q makes the pick. Why I reached out to Quandre on Twitter about this play, though, is my instincts were he had done something special, and his response confirmed it. Here's Quandre's response back to me in full. It was quarters to my side of the field. Soon as I saw a switch release, I knew they never threw the switch wheel. It was always the pop pass backside. So technically, I had the number 2 up the seam, but took my shot backside and made the play. They were in half backside. Film study. The most important part of this response, of course, is that final 2-word sentence at the end, film study, because that's how this play was made. All that grinding you do in the offseason, all that grinding of tape you do during the season, this is where it pays off. This is where you can learn the opportunity that you can then go take to then take a shot, to make a game-changing play. This is the difference as well between those guys that are just super athletic and fast to those guys that are quick, fast, and then also are using their noggin. They're bringing it all to bear. This is what helps to make upper level to good to great players. Let's unpack this statement in full, because I know for some of you it's very clear as to maybe what he's saying. For others, it's like, this is all basically Egyptian to me. I don't know what he's saying here. It was quarters to my side. Very simply put, he's in quarters coverage. I believe he's also referencing Tariq Woolen being in quarter coverage too. As soon as I saw the switch release, I knew they never threw the switch wheel. It was always the pop pass backside. So technically I had number 2 up the seam, but took my shot backside. What is he saying here? Well, he's saying when he sees the switch release, so look to the bottom side of the screen here, you have the X receiver on the outside, and then you have the slot receiver right next to him. They're going to run a switch release after the snap. This means you're going to see him kind of do an X, right? That's a switch release, and then you're going to see the slot receiver then slowly meander his way into a wheel route. And so what Quandre is saying is the combination of those 2 factors, the switch release and the slot going into the wheel route, I knew they were not going to throw to that wheel. They never have, and all of the tape that I've watched since Josh McDaniels has been there as an offensive coach for that Raiders team. This is what then indicates to him that he can take his shot, because technically, as he says, number 2 is his responsibility, is who he's supposed to be then rolling with all the way up the sideline. but he knows he doesn't need to. There's no reason to. They're not going to throw it. And so that's why he takes his shot. When he's referencing they're in a half backside, he's actually talking about Ryan Neal here, as Neal's in a half field coverage, or essentially a kind of cover two look in the way that he has to play it. So he knows that he still has some protection over the top with Neal that allows him to maybe have a little bit more confidence to go and then pull the trigger on this particular play. This is not merely a good play. This is excellence. This is why Quandre Diggs has been even more prolific at getting interceptions than Earl Thomas was, at least on a per game basis. It's also why I have high hopes for Quandre Diggs this upcoming season. Last year, he was rehabbing through the whole offseason from a nasty injury he suffered in the final game of the season the year prior. Now, this year, he gets to train, and players talk all the time about how much better that sets them up for success rather than spending an offseason rehabbing. There's a very realistic possibility that Quandre Diggs has his best year with the Seahawks next year because of how much more talented the defense is, how much better they are at creating pressure, but most especially because of their recent changes in the coverage. For years, the Hawks ran cover 3 like it was the only defensive call they had in their playbook. This left their free safety in deep center field situations, protecting against bombs, but not often impacting the play directly. Last year, the Seahawks ran quarter half coverage 25% of the time. That was the 6th highest rate in the NFL. They still ran their vaunted cover 3 34.5% of the time, and that was certainly the highest prevalence of coverage that they still ran, but that's a far cry from the rate they ran it during the Legion of Boom days. As you saw in this Diggs play against the Raiders, this should provide Quandre more chances to play off his instincts and jump some routes. And maybe, just maybe, he'll start getting his due. A huge thank you to Quandre Diggs for responding to my question and providing some clarity on this play. Best of luck to you next season. I know you're going to ball out. My name is Brandon Kane. This is the Hawks Nest. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. But beyond all that, don't you ever forget, go Hawks.